Well, hello, Paradigm Shifters. Welcome to December 20th, 2022. And look, I have like a dove for the tree, Paradigm Shifters 2022. And this is a celebration of all the speakers that we've had since 2020. And I'm so grateful, so happy and grateful for everyone in the world for shedding their light. So Paradigm Shifters, who are we? We are a growing global community dedicated to shift and uplift the planet. How's that sound, Rachel? You ready?
Yeah.
Shift and uplift the entire planet. And we have like a little over 1,500 people now. It keeps growing. And we're in 56, 57 countries down, a bunch of islands. So so our topic for December is faith. And we've had this faith journey, these faith speakers, where we are at Transformation Tuesday, and we've had speakers come on about their faith journey in December, which is so appropriate for this time of year and this time of the global unfoldment. So let me tell you a little bit about my buddy Rachel. I met her in meditation. We meditate together every morning at 7:30 a.m. And Rachel Justine is a passionate spiritual coach and somatic practitioner. She's greatly influenced by creativity and the various art forms such as dance, music, painting, yoga, and content creation. Her love for the arts mixed with continual growth in the coaching and self-education industry creates a diverse experience. That's for sure, right? So through her struggles with mental health and addictions, she had a spiritual experience where her deeply moving why was revealed. The why that launched her life into recovery and being of service. And that why is that she never wanted anyone to feel the way she had felt. And now Rachel's mission is to share her journey of recovery and mental health with others, offering a helping hand and being an advocate for healing and an advocate for miracles. And her hope is to be a testament that change is possible and recovery is possible. To live a life you love is possible. So we're talking about your faith journey. And I'm going to just turn it over to you, Rachel, and take off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your faith journey, and it's all yours.
Awesome. Wow, Judy. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Rachel Justine, and I also want to thank this amazing group of paradigm shifters and uplifters. Wow, what a group to be speaking with and to. And so I'm honored and thank you for the audience here to be a part of this. And I'm from Michigan. A Michigander. I live in Austin, Texas now, where I've met Judy. And the moment I met Judy, it was like one of those synchronistic moments where you almost could like feel just like lit up. Like I just felt lit up in Judy's presence. And so I'm super grateful that, continuing to meditate together has just expanded that connection. And wow, I absolutely love the heartfelt intention of this topic on faith and of the whole paradigm shifters of uplifting the consciousness of the world and the globe. And I was thinking about this because I liked from one of my other meditation and spiritual teachers talked about the Maharishi effect, which was this yogi guru who bridged the gap from the meditation world with science and proved through the last 25 years that, you know, when 1% of the population meditates, it produces a measurable improvement, not just to the quality of the life of that individual, but the community around. So it just like becomes this ripple effect. And I just think that's so cool that, you know, just by being here today and with the intention to uplift and shift is having a beautiful effect, not only in my life, but in the world. So on the topic of faith, I, Rachel Justine, choose to be a believer in faith. And I say I choose to be a believer in faith because it's something that is a practice. It's a practice for me, just like yoga, just like meditation, just like taking care of myself and self-care and, you know, eating healthy. It's a choice. It's a choice I get to make. It's a choice I get to lean into and make every day. And sometimes all throughout the day, I get to turn back to faith. I get to turn back to faith because my monkey mind, you know, is programmed to find the problems or the fears or the, you know, things, when faith is, to me, that choice to lean in and trust. And that's where this quote that I say for myself sometimes is, faith follows fun and bravery becomes the being. Faith follows fun. I like to say that and remind myself that faith can be fun. And that to me invites a sense of opening, especially with, you know, a lot of my journey has been through a lot of struggle. I struggled for many years since I was 14 with substance abuse. And now, you know, being on the other side and being in recovery, I like to live in a feeling that like faith can be fun. Faith can be this exciting yet peaceful relationship I have with my God, with the universe, with the divine. And then to be brave and courageous too. Faith is like, I get to be afraid of doing things and do them anyway, because I'm backed by faith. You know, I'm fully backed by the energy of love and miracles because I'm choosing that. And then I get to walk through things that I never thought I could, and let alone thought I could sober. So, and now for me, faith has been something that continually changes and evolves. And from the very young age of 6, I went to church in a church school growing up, but I discovered that I started making my own kind of conception. You know, I had this idea of who Jesus was, or, you know, from the church, but I wanted to take Jesus home with me. And I wanted a friend. I wanted a friend. I grew up for the first 11 years of my life, an only child. And my parents were really busy. Like they were just always, you know, they were always out. I was in daycare, childcare. I was always handed off to someone else. And so I really wanted a friend I could rely on, you know? And so Jesus became my imaginary best friend. And we would, you know, my prayers became these conversations of hope, these conversations of imagination, and of really just of becoming close to something I could trust. And, you know, as my adulthood, you know, I came into adulthood, and I'm going to flash forward into, you know, because being in active addiction, that connection that I had as a child, you know, that dwindled, that changed, that became something that was distant. It was kind of like a haze. It wasn't something that was right, right there, my best friend, like it was when I was a kid. And so my last bit of struggling with addiction, I was 25 years old. I was living in a really dingy studio apartment, surrounded by drugs and alcohol, like everyone, that's just what everyone was doing. And and the pandemic hit. So we're in this pandemic. I'm starting to wonder, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to, do all these things? I spent my last bit of money. I remember like the first month on booze, because I was like, I need to get through this, not even on food. So that's all I had. And you could just tell where my priorities were. Right. And it was something with the pandemic, though, of just being alone with myself in this, that I had nowhere else to run. Like I couldn't hide from the fact that I had a problem anymore. And through the time of the pandemic, it was the first time since I was 25 now, that I had admitted to myself and to another person that I was an alcoholic and an addict, and that I had a problem. I had never done that before. I never knew, I didn't understand it. And that moment I admitted to my friend that I'm an alcoholic out loud, things shifted. Because with faith, I feel like there's an honesty when the heart and the mind and the body, like when I started to open up to truth and to speaking it, then that channel broadened for faith to come through. And so, and I kept drinking, and I hit a point where I was like, I want to stop. I can't. And that was this moment, in the pandemic, I'm drinking and using, and I want to stop. And I prayed for the first time in I don't know how many years. And not like an empty prayer, not like I'm being told to prayer, but like this genuine ask, like, I want to stop. Will you please help me? And I hadn't done that. So faith started to happen. It started to build, right? Because I had a moment of a breakthrough, an opening to believe that maybe it's possible that this God divine will hear me pray for this. And so things started to happen. I got aligned with, I did a Tony Robbins UPW. I aligned with a woman coach who coached just women. So I'm like deep diving into these coaching programs. And as I'm doing this, I'm still using, but my mindset started to shift. I started to hear messages, around God, around spirituality, around prayer. The woman that I worked with she was a business coach, but here she was saying that every morning in her journal, she would write, what's my prayer for the day? I'm like, what's your prayer? This is a business. Like she prays to uplift her business, to bring prayer in with her work and in with her clients. And I had never heard of that. Like, I didn't know that faith could work that way. I didn't. And so soon after that, I'm now starting to do things differently, right? I'm starting to write gratitude lists. I'm starting to actually write down prayers in my journal. And I'm creating vision boards. I'm doing all of these assignments from these coaches. And I made a vision board. I put like my dream living space, which was a white house and a yellow door and all this stuff. Like, so here I am, I'm building up this belief. I started to build up a belief of imagining better for my life and myself And as that momentum for me, because it was a momentum. So this momentum is building and I'm having like some hope. Whereas, 5 years prior, I was hopeless. So to now be in a position of 25 years old, I'm aware I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic. I'm willing to do things differently. I'm starting to take the action to do things differently. I'm praying, I'm opening up to the belief and imagining better for myself, and things are beginning to shift. And so, and immediately, a few months later, I moved in to my new home where I'm living now. And sure enough, it was a white house with a yellow door. Outside was a statue of St. Francis of Assisi, which St. Francis had. There's a beautiful prayer, seek to understand rather than to be understood. I move in here, and a month later, I have a month-long stint of like, this is the last straw. This is the last straw of my binging, of my using alcoholically. And I get home one day, I get home from almost getting a DWI, get home. I signed up for another coaching program, drink the whole day prior to, wake up the next day. I'm laid out for the 2 days over the weekend, just laid out flat, feeling awful in myself while I'm listening to this coaching program. And then I heard something came through. I get chills just thinking about it, because here I am. I feel physically awful. I'm at my emotional low. Like I'm willing to do anything to surrender this, to shift this, and it came. I heard the solution. So one of the speakers started to speak about God and said something along the lines of like, God put you here with a purpose. If it were someone else's purpose, then they would be doing it. Then they could do it. But God didn't give them your purpose. God gave you your purpose. And only you can bring it into this world. And you don't know who on the other end of the receiving of this purpose is going to need it. Like, I had just been so small in my thinking, like this self-induced just closed. And that immediately, like a huge wave, rippled over my body, my consciousness. It was as if the blinds like opened up in my mind to let the light that had been so long blocked in. And in that moment, I understood. And like Judy had mentioned earlier, I discovered my why. And I was like, why do I want to change? Why do I want to give up, my addiction? Why do I want? Because I want to help people, because I never want anyone to feel the way that I felt. And if I can have a part in being of service, of sharing my story, of sharing my message with another person, people, and that helps someone, I want to do that. Why? Because I want to do that. I never want anyone to feel the way I felt. And like I had said, the blinds had been opened, the skies parted, and I had a spiritual experience. I felt my addiction be lifted out of my body. I felt my head be cleared. I heard the solution coming through my ears of get sober and be of service. And that's what I did. And so now I've been gratefully in recovery for 2 years and some change. from what was seemingly a hopeless state of mind and body. And my whole life has shifted since that moment. And that has become the new foundation of my faith. That's a miracle. It is a miracle that somehow, some way, just like that, something I'd struggled with since I was 14 years old was lifted. And the solution came through, and more just keeps being revealed. More keeps being revealed. And I continue to grow. Doing this talk right now, like, what? What? Oh my goodness, I'm getting hot now. Wow, like that's a big deal. And not only that, but gosh, I used to be the person that would show up to family events and they would be like, all right, you gotta go. Like you gotta go. You gotta not be here. I would get kicked out. I was kicked out of family events, friends events. Now I show up to family events. I'm of service. I'm helping, with serving food, with love. I was there for, my grandmother and grandfather's memorial service. I got to share in new ways, and it just continues to fill my heart in a way I didn't even know was possible. And so all of this is backed by an ever-growing, ever-changing faith that I get to choose today, that I get to choose to make a decision. And I love this quote: the wound is the place where the light enters you, by Rumi, poet. Oh, for me, that's a very true.
There you go.
Very true. Yes. So thank you.
Wow. What a journey that you've had. And the beautiful thing that I see is that it's just beginning. You're just beginning. And to stay, I love that you said momentum and practice, but I love faith follows fun. Yeah. And that's also a very strong practice. So wow. So what a beautiful story. And we all have stories, and your story is a lot different than mine when I was in my 20s. I'm just blown. This gives me hope, so much hope for our generations to come. So I have a question. We as a community of paradigm shifters and uplifters would love to give you and hold for you anything at all. What would you love to have us hold as a worldwide community for you? Because you took the courage, you had the bravery. When I asked you, you went, and I'm like, I know you from, your commitment to meditation, which is getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So what would you love to have us hold for you on your journey? Anything at all. It's like, pretend we're Jesus and giving you a Christmas present. I love that Jesus was your friend.
Tight. Oh, yeah. I honestly, what comes to me is the courage to keep going, the courage to keep going, and the courage to keep growing. Yeah.
Amen. Okay, now here's the fun part. What we're going to do is we're going to rub our hands, and you get to practice the law of receiving. Oh. So we're going to shoot energy your way, and you get to receive it. So the courage to stay growing, yes, love it. And to keep, keep on the path. So here you go, ready to receive the energy. Got it? Did you catch it?
I got it.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you.
I've got it.
You got it. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your story and how much it will help so many, just so many people at this particular juncture in 2022. So thank you so much for being with us. I really love you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Paradigm Shifters. And thank you, Judy, for hosting this experience. And wow.
Amen.